biplanes, triplanes, but there were even crazier designs in the earliest days of aviation. I've seen pictures of planes that had 40 or 50 stacked wings, and one had up to 200, but not vertically. That would be far too crazy. That is why I've always been fascinated with early aviation. Pioneers bravely putting trust in new and untested technology, using their very lives to find out what works and what doesn't, resulting in them plummeting to the ground to their doom. And that is why World War I is the era of aerial combat that I find most beautiful, most romantic. Flying aces in their flying machines, open cockpits, wind in your face, so you had to wear goggles, awesome jackets, and warm scarves to keep the chill at bay. Inspiration, as pilots were forced to invent newer and deadlier tactics because none existed yet. Dive out of the sun, attack from above. It was such a personal form of combat, too, a real duel between two men. And which World War I flying ace is more well known than Baron Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron? His actual title of Freiherr, Free Lord, translated as Baron in English, and his triplane, brightly painted red, aren't what earned him this nickname, however. Had he not been a terrifyingly successful ace, no one would remember him today. But he racked up 80 officially credited victories and was the leader of his own wing called the Flying Circus. Snoopy famously counts the Red Baron as his rival. There are even some songs about them. I would love to see a modern film made with today's technology about this age in aviation. But more than that, I would love to see an adaptation of Kim Newman's novel, The Bloody Red Baron. You see, in that novel, Manfred von Richthofen needs no triplane. He needs no airplane at all. You see, he is a vampire. So I will say it again. The Bloody Red Baron should be on screen. Before I get to the novel, I should back up a bit. The Bloody Red Baron, published in 1995, is actually the second novel in the Anno Dracula series. The first was Anno Dracula, published in 1992. The entire series spans several more novels after these first two, and they're all horror of a most interesting kind. They feature not only an alternate version of the Dracula story, but are also set in an alternate history populated by alternate versions of actual historical figures alongside the fictional characters created for the series. Hence why we have Manfred von Richthofen as a vampire. To set up the premise, I will very briefly summarize some events in Anno Dracula. Abraham Van Helsing and his team of would-be vampire hunters failed. Van Helsing was killed along with Quincy Morris and Jonathan Harker. Mina Harker was fully transformed. Dracula successfully settled in Britain and created thousands of new vampires, among them Queen Victoria. This begins a new era of vampire domination in the UK and a proliferation all over the world. And there is a lot of interaction between humans who have chosen to turn and those who've decided to stay warm. I will leave the rest unsaid, so if you want to know what happens, read Anno Dracula for yourself. The way vampires work in Kim Newman's world is that they are natural creatures and pass on the biological changes by sharing their blood. There is no magic, although vampires cast no reflection, so that might not be 100% true. Shape-shifting is possible, which plays an important role in the Bloody Red Baron. Healing and regeneration is extremely fast, while it can be inhibited by silver. And sunlight is dangerous. Although older vampires build up a tolerance to it and are only weakened when exposed. Holy symbols like crucifixes and common vampire repellents like garlic are only as effective as the vampire in question believes them to be, largely due to any superstitions they hold or psychological values they put on those items. There is only an aversion to such things, not actual damage to them. The Bloody Red Baron finds the world at war. Air combat is a new thing, and media coverage of the brave, handsome pilots is very popular. But the technology is not there yet for airplanes themselves to have a huge impact on battles. However, something changes as the German forces introduce a horrific new weapon. Using his own blood, Dracula, the eldest of all vampires and the most expert at shifting his own form and controlling his transformation, creates a new type of flyer. These former pilots are able to transform into giant bat-winged human weapons, their arms and fingers lengthening and changing into membranous wings while still retaining some digits pew, 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 to fire chest-mounted machine guns. Able to nimbly weave and dart through the air, they can easily outmaneuver all but the very best Allied pilots. And they're able to employ other kinds of weapons as well, such as explosives. They'd attack at night when the Allied pilots are at a severe disadvantage. The Allied pilots start using silver bullets interspersed with tracer rounds that are visible even in the darkness. How amazing would that be to see on the big screen? Transformed man become monster versus man in machine, with the freedom of Europe and the fate of the entire world at stake. The novel contains many reimagined fictional characters from literature and cinema, such as Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, Dr. Cagliari from The Cabinet of Dr. Cagliari, and Sherlock Holmes, and actual historical figures adapted for the novel, such as Edgar Allan Poe, Winston Churchill, and J.R.R. Tolkien, as well as, of course, fictional characters created for the story. It's a real treat to wander through this alternate history and watch alternate versions of fictional characters interact with alternate versions of historical characters. Picture it. Giant human bats swooping and soaring through the darkened skies, spitting doom from chest guns, engaged in a deadly dance with biplanes, flashes of light as tracer bullets streak towards these monstrous enemies to deliver silver death. I would pay to see the combat alone. What do you think? Would you like to see the Bloody Red Baron on screen? If you have read any of the Anno Dracula series, what did you think about it? Do you like this fusion of vampiric horror and alternate history? Any comments, positive or negative or other, are welcome. So I hope you will share. I would love to read it. And if you've made it this far, please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos on all forms of entertainment. And consider leaving a like if anything in this video proved to be of value to you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.